Maya had a routine. Every night, after Daniel fell asleep, she'd wait exactly 15 minutes, counting the seconds until his breathing became deep and steady, then carefully slide his phone off the nightstand. It started small, a quick glance at notifications, just to ease the knot in her stomach, just to prove her anxiety wrong. But 3 months in, she had his passcode memorized, knew which apps to check first, and could navigate his entire digital life in under 10 minutes without leaving a trace. Tonight felt different. Daniel had been distant all week. Not cold, exactly, just preoccupied. He'd smile when she asked about his day, but his eyes would drift somewhere else, somewhere she couldn't follow. She watched the clock. 11:47 p.m. His phone screen glowed faintly on the nightstand, face down. That was new. He never put it face down. Her therapist's voice echoed in her head. Maya, this compulsion to check is about your anxiety, not about Daniel. You're creating the problem you're afraid of. But what if this time was different? What if her gut was actually trying to tell her something real? At 11:52, Daniel's breathing shifted into that familiar deep rhythm. Maya counted to 300, then reached for the phone. The lock screen showed 2 notifications, one from his brother, one from a number with no contact name. Her hands trembled as she entered the passcode. The unnamed number's message preview read, "Tomorrow night, same place. Don't." The rest was cut off. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. This was the moment that would prove she wasn't crazy, that her anxiety had been protection all along, that she opened the message thread. "Tomorrow night, same place. Don't forget to bring the contract papers. Susan from Riverside Realty." Maya stared at the screen. Contract papers? Realty? She scrolled up through the conversation. Weeks of messages about property viewings, mortgage pre-approvals, inspection schedules, all from Susan, a real estate agent Daniel had apparently been working with. For a house. He was looking at houses without telling her. The betrayal felt different than she'd imagined. Not another woman, not an affair. Something worse in a way she couldn't quite name. He was planning a future, a literal foundation, and hadn't included her in a single conversation. Maya's finger hovered over the thread, torn between reading more and pretending she'd never seen it. Her therapist would call this a boundary violation. Daniel would call it a violation of trust. But he'd violated something too, hadn't he? She scrolled further back. Messages from 2 months ago. Found the perfect place. 3BR, backyard, quiet neighborhood. Thinking we could surprise her. We? Her breath caught. More scrolling. A group chat appeared. Daniel, his brother Marcus, and someone named Jennifer. The messages were a flurry of excitement. Marcus, dude, she's gonna lose it when she sees it. Jennifer, I've never seen anyone work this hard to plan a surprise. You're setting the bar really high for the rest of us. Daniel, she deserves it. After everything with her mom, after the anxiety, the therapy sessions, I want to give her something stable, something that's ours. Maya's eyes blurred. She scrolled faster, desperate now. 3 weeks ago, Daniel had written, I hate lying to her, even by omission. She asked me 3 times this week what I've been up to, and I just kept saying, work stuff. I can see it's feeding her anxiety. But if I tell her now, it ruins everything. Just 2 more weeks till closing. Jennifer had responded, she'll understand when she sees it. Trust the plan. Marcus, bro, you're buying her dream house and planning the most epic proposal known to man. She's not going to care about a few white lies. Proposal. The word hit Maya like cold water. She backed out of the messages, hands shaking for entirely different reasons now. She opened his Photos app, something she'd done 100 times before, always finding nothing but screenshots of memes and photos of them together. This time, there was a hidden album, password protected. Maya knew his passwords. He used the same 3 combinations for everything, a security flaw she'd pointed out multiple times. She tried the first one. Incorrect. Second attempt. Incorrect. The third was their anniversary date. She hesitated, then entered it. 73 photos of a house. Not just any house, a restored craftsman bungalow with a wraparound porch. Exactly like the one she'd spent hours showing Daniel from her Pinterest board, the one she titled Someday Dreams. Wide plank hardwood floors, a kitchen with vintage tile and modern appliances, a reading nook with built-in shelves, a backyard with an actual white picket fence and mature oak trees. In the last photo, Daniel stood on the porch holding a sign that read, "Our future starts here." He looked so happy, so proud. Maya felt like she was going to throw up. She'd spent 3 months convinced he was pulling away, building walls, hiding something dark. She checked his location obsessively, analyzed his text message response times, memorized his work schedule to catch inconsistencies. She'd been so certain her anxiety was protecting her from heartbreak. Instead, it had turned her into exactly what she'd feared becoming: someone who couldn't trust, someone who invaded privacy, someone who created problems where none existed. Except, Daniel had been lying, hadn't he? Maya's mind erased. Yes, it was a beautiful surprise. Yes, his intentions were pure. But he'd watched her spiral for weeks, watched her anxiety consume her, and said nothing. He'd let her suffer in silence because the surprise mattered more than her peace of mind. Or was that her anxiety talking, twisting something good into something wrong? She closed the album, deleted her browsing history from his phone, a skill she'd mastered months ago, and placed it back on the nightstand, exactly as she'd found it, face down. Maya lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, Daniel steady breathing beside her. Tomorrow night he'd go to same place to sign contract papers. Maybe that's when he'd tell her. Maybe he'd plan some elaborate reveal. Maybe... "You're awake." Daniel's voice cut through the darkness. Not groggy, fully alert. Maya's blood turned to ice. "I've been awake this whole time. Actually, I've been awake the last 4 times you've checked my phone." The room seemed to tilt. "I know about all of it, Maya. The location tracking, the way you memorize my passcode, how you clear your search history in my messages." She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Daniel sat up, turning on the bedside lamp. His eyes weren't angry. They were sad. "I saw you that first night 3 months ago. Watched you in the reflection of the TV screen. I thought maybe it was a one-time thing, an anxiety spike. But then it kept happening, and I didn't know how to bring it up without making it worse. Daniel, Let me finish." He took her hand, and somehow that made it worse. "I've been planning the house surprise for us. The proposal, everything. But I've also been watching the woman I love torture herself every single night, and I didn't know which would hurt you more. Ruining the surprise or letting you keep spiraling." Tears streamed down Maya's face. "I'm so sorry. I knew it was wrong. I knew I should trust you, but my brain just kept telling me that something was wrong. I know. And you weren't entirely wrong. Something was wrong. I was lying to you, even if it was for good reasons. I was pulling away to manage the logistics. I was being secretive. Your anxiety wasn't making things up. It was responding to real changes in my behavior." Maya looked up at him. "So what does this mean?" "It means we need to talk about the real problem. Not the house. Not even the phone checking, really. The fact that you don't feel safe enough with me to just ask what's going on. The fact that I didn't feel safe enough with you to say, I'm planning a surprise and it's making me act weird, but I promise everything's okay. We've been living in parallel anxieties." The truth of it settled between them like a third presence in the room. I saw the house, Maya whispered. It's perfect. It's everything I've ever wanted. I know. I spent 6 months working overtime to save for the down payment. I wanted to give you stability, proof that I'm here for the long haul, that your anxiety about me leaving is unfounded. He paused. But I realize now that grand gestures don't build trust. Conversations do. Transparency does, even when it's inconvenient or ruins surprises. I violated your privacy multiple times. That's not okay, no matter how anxious I was. No, it's not, Daniel agreed. And we need to address that. But I also need to own my part. I saw you struggling and chose the surprise over your mental health. That's not okay either. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 3 months of secret keeping and secret seeking pressing down on them both. So what now? Maya asked. Daniel took a breath. Now we start over with actual communication. I'll tell you what I'm planning. You'll tell me when you're struggling, and we'll both work on not letting anxiety, mine or yours, drive the relationship. What about the house? A small smile crossed his face. Well, the surprise is kind of ruined, but the house is real. The offer's accepted. We close in 2 weeks. He reached into the nightstand drawer, the one Maya had never checked, and pulled out a small velvet box. And this is real, too. I was going to do this on the porch of our new house with champagne and the whole thing, but right now feels more honest. He opened the box. A simple diamond ring caught the lamplight. Maya, I love you. Including the anxious parts, the checking parts, the parts you think you make you unlovable. But I can't marry someone who doesn't trust me, and you can't marry someone you feel you need to surveil. So before I ask the big question, I'm asking a different one. Are you willing to do the real work with me? The therapy, the communication, the uncomfortable conversations about what we both need to feel secure. Maya looked at the ring, then at Daniel's face. No more secrets, no more checking phones in the dark. Just 2 imperfect people choosing to build something together, anxiety and all. Yes, she said, to the work, to the uncomfortable conversations, to all of it. Good. Daniel set the box aside. Because I need you to know something else. That text you saw tonight, the one from Susan, she was actually texting to tell me the sellers want to move the closing date up, which means I need to tell you about the house officially tomorrow anyway. The universe has terrible timing. Despite everything, Maya laughed. A real laugh that released 3 months of tension. There's one more thing, Daniel added, his tone shifting. I saw your therapist, separately. Asked her advice on how to handle the surprise without triggering your anxiety. She's the one who suggested I tell you sooner rather than later, but I didn't listen. I thought I knew better. You saw my therapist? With your permission listed in her files, yeah. I wanted to understand what you're dealing with. Wanted to be a better partner. Turns out I needed to work on myself, too. She recommended someone for me. For us, eventually. Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not the anxiety knot she'd carried for months. Something else. Something that felt like hope. Can I see the house? Like, actually see it tomorrow? Tomorrow, Daniel agreed. And every day after that, until it's officially ours. No more surprises, just transparency. They turned off the light and lay back down. But this time, Daniel's phone stayed face up on the nightstand. And this time, Maya didn't count the seconds until his breathing changed. She just let herself feel safe. Because the scariest text she'd ever read hadn't been evidence of betrayal. It had been the catalyst for the conversation they should have had months ago. Sometimes anxiety protects you from real threats. Sometimes it creates them. And sometimes it forces you to confront the truth you've both been avoiding. That love without trust is just 2 people sleeping next to each other, both awake, both afraid. Yeah, that actually happened. If you're seeing yourself in Maya's story, hit subscribe, because understanding the difference between intuition and anxiety, that's what we do here. The house closed 3 weeks later. The proposal happened on the porch like Daniel originally planned, but with one change. Before he got down to his knee, they both put their phones in a drawer inside. Not because they had something to hide, but because they finally had nothing to prove.